Purchasing video games. Go live and purchasing games.
We're going live. We're live.
Yeah!
What's up, YouTube? Hold on a second. I gotta buy Justin a game.
He's finishing purchasing me a game. Relax. Everyone, relax. Hold on. I just gotta make sure that what just got posted is the right. Okay, good. Since I'm in Discord, I'm just gonna make sure it's the right link.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. What's this new Truth or Dare channel? This is new, isn't it?
It is new.
What is this? What are we doing?
None
of these channels have channel descriptions, Doug, and I
go
find
check.
that very...
You fucking go to the Truth or Dare channel right now and tell me what you see. You go there right now.
Welcome to Truth or Dare channel. Use the following commands to make the bot do your bidding.
Yeah.
So this is one of the only ones, Doug, because when I had my 3 days of Discord
activity and engagement
of my life got breathed back into me. I was like, and that's when I messaged you on GChat because I went through all of them and I'm like, I don't know what the rules are for all of these. Like, what is?
I mean, I feel like the names are pretty self-explanatory, Justin. You've got general, you've got D&D, you've got memes and media, you've got community content, looking for group, fart jokes and related comments, which actually turns out to be more political than anything because I just refuse to make a politics channel, but that's where they end up inevitably.
That's the one that threw me initially because I was like,
oh, cool fart jokes. She's like, why are we talking about the war in Ukraine?
I was like, I'm missing there must be an inside joke that I didn't get the memo on. And then secondarily, when you have something called memes and media, but then every single channel is nothing but memes and videos, you have to understand where my confusion is born from. Yeah.
I get that. Maybe it's because I've been living it since its inception that I'm like, this all makes sense. Yeah. I mean, you're going to see some memes and stuff in the comic book spoiler room. You know, that stuff's going to exist there.
In D&D and in community content.
But we have some of that stuff to be like hyper-focused. So like if you want just straight up D&D stuff, that's where you got to go. If you just want random memes and media, you head to that channel, you know?
What am I looking for in the looking for channel?
Looking for group is it's not looking for, it's looking for group.
So you're looking for a group?
Yeah, to play games.
I thought it's a looking for a group, and you look for things together.
Yeah, it's a scavenger hunt.
Is this geocaching?
Who can find a rotten apple? Let's go. Take a picture.
I'm just saying, I've seen no longitudes and latitudes posted in here.
Longitudes and latitudes. That's Justin's new album coming out this Christmas. Go check it out.
The title track is I'll Lick That Pole.
Yeah, that's right. You guys want to check out the new audio drop with much acclaim?
I would lick the pole.
There you go.
You're welcome.
He would lick the pole. Everyone was like, hey, Justin said that. That should be an audio drop. I'm like, you're not wrong. We should totally do that. Yeah. Nice hat, Justin. Way to rep those XL Trojan condoms. Absolutely correct, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome, America and Australia.
Guess what? Justin fucks.
I would lick the pole.
See? It's true.
Oh my God, I'm going above.
There it is.
There it is.
I put my dick in worse.
Yeah! I miss having Jared's stuff. Jared, we don't play games as much anymore. It makes me sad. We need to rectify that. You know what we should do soon? Couple things. We should play Project Winter.
Okay.
You can bring your XL Trojans down under. Now we're talking. Do you still... Let me talk about this. Size-wise, we talked about this a little bit in Discord today. For shoes, it's roughly the same as US, but do you have the same size measurements for condoms for dicks in Australia, or is it by, like, centimeters? Or whatever.
Or meters.
God, I hope it's not meters.
I'm just saying.
I mean, come on now. Because that's important. You know, we want to make sure we do the right measurements when we're referring to the Aussies and down under, you know?
We want to be respectful of how people measure anything.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. These are facts.
Not.
I'd love to do Project Winter again. We haven't played that game in forever, and that'd be fun to get a group of people together to play that. That would be really fun. But they measure the width in millimeters. Oh no.
You don't go.
I think.
Okay.
I feel like it should be centimeters. Well, I guess it's you could probably get more accuracy out of the millimeters doing a smaller measurement.
Also makes it sound bigger.
I mean, I guess the number's larger, I suppose.
Right.
So, hard to say. But
or soft to say, depending on when you're measuring.
It's true. It's very true. It's very, very true. Yeah! That one's always brings joy to my heart. Always. Always, always, always. Oh boy! Well, I say we get the show on the road, buddy, old pal. Let me pull up my stuff, and we'll hit the record button and have some fun.
See, Jared gets it. Millimeters is accurate and makes it sound bigger.
Yeah, it's true.
It's both. Right. They're not mutually exclusive.
They're mutually inclusive. Italian lad's back. Aussies measure their dicks in knife handles. Mine's 5 knife handles long.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome back, Italian lad. 69. We're glad you're here. Hey, Tal's here too. What's up, Tal?
All right.
Good to see you. We got a party.
Getting things going now.
It's a party. And you can't start a party.
I have plantar fasciitis.
Without plantar fasciitis. Let me tell you about it, gang. It's not fun. It's not good. All right, let's get the show on the road. Nothing spoils a mood like plantar fasciitis. So, all right, in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And remember that I
have plantar fasciitis.
It's not good. This is a public service announcement. Take care of your feet, gang. You know, I used to walk around all the time in my flip-flops in college because I thought that was cool. You know what that doesn't give you? It doesn't give you good support. It doesn't give you good support for your feet. And I spent 6 years standing on basically concrete for 8 hours at a time at a job, and then my feet started to fucking kill me. And I had problems with my fascia band, the bottom of my right foot, and it sucked. It burned. It's also known as like heel spurs. Don't do that. Take care of your feet, gang. Take care of your feet. You only get 2 feet. All right? So take care of them. All right?
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. All right? Take care of your goddamn feet. You heard it here. All right?
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
This is a Mind Gap exclusive.
Take care of your fucking feet. All right. So glad to be here. The things that I would have told my 18-year-old self, hey, man, take care of your feet. And I'd be like, okay, Dad. You know?
Oh, there are things that I would tell my 18-year-old self, like back now, that he would look at me and just, he would be very disappointed. He's like, that's what we're worrying about? That's what we think about? And I'm like, absolutely it is.
I think,
I pulled my back, 18-year-old me. Oh, yeah? Were you doing something really cool? You're like, were you fucking or doing something really cool? No. I was tying my shoes to go work out. I bent over, and my back said, no.
Mm-mm.
And that's it.
I think we've talked about this.
18-year-old self.
I think we've talked about this before, but do you think now, if you were to talk to your 18-year-old self, do you think your 18-year-old self would listen to you?
See,
I guess it probably depends on the topic.
It does depend on the topic. I'd like to. It's funny because my current self would like to give my 18-year-old self the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But when I really think back to 18-year-old me, I don't know. It's a crapshoot. It really is.
I think there's some stipulations too. Like, does your 18-year-old self know that you are like the almost 40-year-old version of their future self? You know what I mean? Like, if you're just can you just walk up and be like, hey there, little fella, I got some really important stuff to tell you. They're like, why is this strange man talking to me? You know? Or would they know? You know, would they? Because I think that could differentiate. You know,
what I would love to do is I'd love to take a photo of myself now, and find a photo when I was 18, senior picture or whatever, show it to someone, and see if they could identify that it's the same person, because I've seen young you, and I was not able to. My brain wouldn't let me accept the fact that it was young you.
You've only known me. You've only known me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, like, would 18-year-old you not seeing this version, like,
I think 18-year-old me would be like, Dad?
Would 18-year-old you recognize you? That would be
yeah, that's actually a good question. Would I roll the high enough perception to deter or insight to know that is my future self? I don't know. I definitely look a lot like my dad.
There you go. Yeah.
I think it might be like, huh? Wait, what?
The only thing that you'd have to fall back into the old comedy tropes of time travel movies, where you give yourself facts that only you know about, and it gets real weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. What's something you would tell your younger self that would be like, holy shit, he is from the future?
So many things.
Right?
There are so many things.
Right?
I would probably say, look, we both now know not to explain things with permanent marker.
Right.
And then my younger self would be like, "Oh, it is me."
Oh shit.
Oh, okay.
Wait, it's the cops. You're a narc.
You're a narc.
I would tell my younger self, "Hey, I know what those stains are on the wall."
Of your bedroom, I'm assuming?
I'm not giving you any more information. I'm just saying, hey, I know what those stains are. Okay?
Fair enough.
I know what those stains are.
Yeah.
And my younger self would be like, It is you.
So yeah, there's things that we could clues we could use to make the younger. And I'd like to think that if older me came back and said that to younger me would be like, you know what? I better probably fucking listen to this. Because I think I'd have my mind blown enough at that point to be like, this probably is important.
Jared says 18-year-old me would not listen. Stubborn little cunt. I would tell him about some sex things I haven't told anyone. Then he goes, did young Doug jizz on the wall and just watch it drip down? Listen, Jared, you're never going to know. Okay? This is something between me and past me. And this is how I would forge that connection. I would look him dead in the eye and be like, I know. And he'd be like, fuck. He knows.
The thing is, Jared, he can't tell you what it means because should he ever need to go back, it's like letting someone hold on to your totem. Right?
Yes, exactly. From Inception. You can't let anyone else know.
So this is the thing that Doug has already almost revealed too much information. He can't tell you the whole story lest he jeopardize potential future time travel.
I'd also be like, hey, listen, I know. I'd be like, remember that time you dumped the tomato soup out into the front lawn at night?
Yep.
And then didn't clean it up? And then your dad thought you got drunk and barfed all over the front yard, and he got so mad and you were feeling really bad, but in the middle of it he goes, what do you think this is, the prairie? And it totally just undercut everything he was saying because it made no sense. It was the weirdest. It's still to this day that sentence puzzles me. I don't know what he means by that. I was like, what are you referring to? What do you mean? Is this just something that people used to do at the prairie? They just dump stuff? Like, I mean, littering I think was just common in general, but why the prairie? What about the prairie, sir? I should remember.
I'd like to think that he was at that moment either reading a book or watching a film documentary, as dads do, on something very benign like prairie life or the settlers.
That's a moment I'm totally going to have with my daughter at some point. We're going to be having a real serious moment, and I'm going to say something really dumb that's going to completely undercut any momentum or any movement that I've had towards a particular situation. I'll go like, this is my prairie moment.
Yep.
And I'll text you like, Justin, I just had my prairie moment.
It happened.
It happened.
Yep.
I had my prairie moment. Because I remember going to school and telling my friends that happened. They're like, what the hell did he mean by that? I go, I don't know. I don't know. What does he mean? But they're like, why the prairie? I go, I don't get it. I don't know.
What's going to be amazing, though, true full circle moment, is that if you find yourself saying the exact same thing to her, if the situation presents itself, and for some reason that flies out of your mouth, and
I'd like to say that's not possible, but anything's possible. Right. You know, where you come out and like, why did I say that?
Why did you say that? Oh no! And then you call your dad up and just go, I get it.
My dad doesn't even remember that he did that. He has no recollection. When I go home for the holidays, I'm like, hey, you remember when you said that? He'd be like, no. I have no recollection.
That's some and we've had this kind of stuff. Like, it's not just with parents, but it's throughout your whole life. You say or do something that just sticks with you and just goes.
They're defining moments for whatever reason.
The other people that were involved, probably it was a flash in the pan and it's gone. But for you, years later, decades later, you hold on to that. And you're like, and you just can't let. And it happens in so many different scenarios. It's just so weird that we travel through life with these kind of pieces of baggage.
Do you think your 18-year-old self would be proud of future you? Do you think they'd be like, whoa?
I think 18-year-old me would be. Look, there have been some pictures that I've shared online, pictures I've shared with you.
You can find these on Justin's OnlyFans.
You can find them on my OnlyFans, or if you scroll back far enough in my Instagram. Some people peaked in high school. I never had that concern. All right, so I think my younger self would be proud that we finally got out of that awkward stage, that look, and morphed into more of what we are now. As far as life choices, I don't know. I don't know if I'm proud of me.
I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it.
And I'm not just saying that.
I appreciate it.
I'm not just saying that because
I would lick the pole.
Because you'd lick the pole. I'm saying it because you've done a lot, man. You've come a long way. You've followed your heart, and following your heart's not always easy. In fact, most of the time, it's the most difficult thing to do. You know, I liken it to Chris Charles and his endeavors of, trying to follow, go forth and conquer the film industry. Putting his heart and soul in everything. And I kind of lump you in the same way. I don't know if 18-year-old you would see it the same way.
I mean, that's high praise, because I feel like Chris Charles has succeeded, whereas I feel like I have, like, he is the definition of, like, leaning in and following
perseverance.
Perseverance and it working out. He's got a lot to be proud of. He is killing. Would your 18-year-old self look at you and be like, "Good job, me"?
I think now, possibly. Okay. In the sense of, like, me in my late 20s working at the hotel, probably not. I think basically being like, hey, man, I've done some kind of cool stuff. I do this thing with a really good friend every week. We basically have our own radio show because I don't know how to explain podcasts to you right now. I did improv. We perform on stage in Chicago, which is pretty cool. Like, we got to do that for a while. You meet a really cool lady. You have a really cool kid. You move out of Missouri. I mean, that was a given. There's no way that wasn't going to happen. So
look, these are all really good things. Like, this is all things that 18-year-old self could be like, oh my God, we moved out. Oh, we had sex?
Yeah, totally. You bone. Yeah. You get better at it, buddy. I think there would be some connection there. I think 18-year-old me would also be like, you don't become a rock star? Like, no. Right. And deep down, that's also not going to happen. You know that.
Let's be honest with what we're doing.
Let's be honest. Here. This is a fun hobby, but we're not musicians. We're just, we like to do it for fun, but we have our limitations.
I'm sure 18-year-old me would be like, are we still in Kingston Mines with Bob, Jeff, Mike, Paul?
They're like,
woo! Oh, man.
Yeah.
No, but we said we were going to go we got a good thing.
Like, dude, Blink-182's getting back together. You're like, they broke up?
What?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And their tickets are outrageous.
They're
still around, man. They're still around. Yeah. Speaking of tickets, I heard Ticketmaster right now is kind of following up from our previous episode, the whole pre-sale for the Taylor Swift stuff. Oh. Apparently, it was a nightmare. Taylor Swift sent out a pre-sale code to all the Swifties, and everyone basically crashed Ticketmaster's site, and there was a queue, and people were losing their fucking minds over it.
Shit.
And I think also some of the prices, I saw a screenshot. I don't know if it's true or not, so I'm not even going to say the number because it was absurd. But they're like, so this is what it is. And I mean, it was like over $10,000 for a ticket. And I'm like, okay, I don't believe that. But again, we did talk about, how bad Ticketmaster was in the previous episode about how they were with marking stuff up. And so if demand is there, I don't know. But
that ticket was just to see the show. That wasn't to like go shopping with her, like have a day. Like,
I mean, as far as I know, it was a picture of the arena, and they had, it showed like a selection of prices for the seats, and they were all over $11,000. So,
no, sir. If I pay $10,000, I would prefer a home cooked meal.
I would like a percentage of the back end deal if I'm investing $10,000 in something like this. Like, yeah, this ain't throwaway cash for me, bruv. So it's it seems pretty bad. And someone made a comment to like, if anyone could break the Ticketmaster model, it could be Taylor Swift.
I was just about to say, I was like, of course, the only person that's going to do this is Taylor Swift. Like,
right?
She has the power and the dominance to do that right now.
She'd just be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And just, find their own way to distribute. And they would be should be incredibly successful, and the fans would adore her for it, and she would make even more money. So
here's the interesting thing is that back in, I think it was either 95 or 97, when we were doing the research for last week's show, I think it was 95 or 97, Pearl Jam tried to do a Ticketmaster-less concert, and it crashed and burned.
Yeah.
And they were like one of the biggest bands in the world at that time. So it makes me wonder, I'm like, if bands have tried to do it before, could Taylor Swift really pull this off? And I think yes, because the difference is what is available from a technology standpoint nowadays. There's so much more. Back in 95, the mid 90s, we're talking about very limited access to, you don't have a robust enough infrastructure to sell stuff on your own website. If you're lucky enough to have a website, there's no social media. It's just a different landscape. Now I think someone as large as Taylor Swift, with the resources that are available, and the team that she has behind her, I think now would be the time where, if it's possible, it could be done.
I think the logistics of the tickets could totally be done. I think where they would run into problems is with the actual tour and the venues, because they are owned by Live Nation, aka Ticketmaster. So finding venues to do that would be tricky when you're that big, because I don't know if
arenas.
Yeah, because I could see Ticketmaster being like, either you do the tickets through us or you don't get to use our venues, and they own majority of the largest venues, and Taylor Swift is going to be selling out to all these places. So I think they kind of hold the cards in that area, and that arena, if you will, it's so I don't know if they'd be able to pull that off as far as that stuff goes.
I think that's the big thing, is if you can, and really this is where Ticketmaster's brilliance has come in, is because they either partnered with or absorbed Live Nation, and they have all of these Live Nation, and Live Nation is the biggest, venue proprietor, if you will, in the country. If you can solve that piece of the puzzle, I think you could take out a large chunk of Ticketmaster's business. Yeah. But it's just a matter of how do you do that? I mean, do you play more shows at smaller venues? Do you play? I don't know.
The only thing I could possibly think of is if somehow Taylor Swift were able to use her clout to get Ticketmaster to consider letting her do the tickets on her own and then still using the venues. Like, that would be, that's a huge, I don't know how you pull that off, but that's a game of chicken to see who blinks. Because if you think about it, if Taylor's like, I'm not going to use your ticketing site, and Ticketmaster's you can't use our venues, they're both losing.
Right.
So would there be a willingness to compromise where it's like, listen, you're still going to get money from us using your venues, but I'm taking care of the ticketing myself because your ticketing is out of control. Like, your prices are awful. It's not a good experience for my fans. I refuse to do that. And maybe she can use that as negotiating power to find a better way to do something. I don't know. But if somehow, because they could also see this as like, well, if she does this, then who else is going to come knocking on our door asking for the same thing? That could get kind of messy too. So I don't know.
They're not going to want to break the seal on that, because that's just you're opening a Pandora's box at that point.
Yeah.
What's tough is that we had mentioned last week Louis C.K. and how he was starting to do it through his own site, and he was refusing to play. He wouldn't play a venue unless they agreed to allow him to sell tickets through his site. The nice thing is that with a comedian, a stand-up comedian, even though at the end he was selling out arenas and those kind of venues, I feel like with the stand-up, they have the ability to play the medium to smaller venues and still do quite well. And I don't want to say that it is less effort, but when you're doing a 3-hour concert where you're singing and dancing and running around the stage and you've got pyrotech, there's a lot more that goes into that. So you could do 3 nights of the same set, 4 nights of the same set, and do the Garth Brooks model at the smaller venue, so everyone can see you. You can get the people in and through, and I feel like it's a little easier when you're dealing with that medium, the stand-up medium, rather than when you're a global pop icon like Taylor Swift is.
Yeah, especially like even the most famous comedians still have to go back to clubs to work out their material. Like people still do that, and I think at the time Louis C.K. was charging $50 a ticket. That's the highest that it went. He's like, buy it through and he could easily, the clubs of course would want him to be there, like, because then he's there, people are going to order drinks, buy food, all that sort of shit. So it was a win for them. And obviously if he went to theaters and beyond, I don't know how that stuff worked out, probably got a little more complicated, but still he was able to maintain that, which I think endeared him with the fans as well, because he's like, I'm looking out for you, I've got your interests in mind, that's what matters.
Well, he was the first one to try. I mean, there was articles written about him talking about how the first person to really take a swipe at the system and buck the system and try to reinvent it. It was revolutionary at the time.
Comedians are really doing that right now, honestly. Like they're really reclaiming their power, so to speak, in that they are the comedians are talking about pay, so they're understanding like what the landscape is. B, a lot of them aren't settling to sell their stuff if someone doesn't buy it, right? Because like if they shop it around and any streaming or network is like, now we don't want it, they're like, I'll just release it on YouTube. And there's been several comedians who have done that, and it has gone extremely well for them. They may break even overall, but they get the exposure, and they get, essentially they are not. It was kind of like with Bieber when Bieber broke through YouTube and MySpace and stuff like that. Like he didn't have to go through the traditional route to get noticed. Same thing with these comedians. You see all these comedians that are like filming their sets every night. They're chopping out jokes here and there. They're putting it on Instagram, on TikTok, and they're getting seen. That's how they're generating their promotions and things like that. They're ditching the morning radio shows, which all of them hated, for these archaic things that existed because these club owners had relationships with these radio stations and TV stations. Some of my favorite things was like, for the longest time, Tom Segura fucking hated that stuff. Yeah. So he came up with a character called DJ Dadmouth, and he would go on and just make everyone's life a living hell as this character. And he would... So he put on like this big fur coat, big sunglasses, and a hat. He's like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm DJ Dadmouth. I'm Polly and Bye." And he would just say this stuff, and the TV anchors would be like, "Oh, okay. This is great." He's like, "Yeah, man, I got this new single coming out. It's like I don't just do comedy, I do DJ. I spin the music." And he's just like doing this stuff, and people are like, "What the fuck is happening? This is morning TV." And he's like, "I don't want to be here."
That is absolutely. I actually just have to look up.
Yeah,
DJ Dadmouth.
Tom Segura, DJ Dadmouth. It is.
DJ Dadmouth has a big announcement. Does morning TV. Oh, best of. Oh my god.
Yeah,
DJ Dadmouth does the weather.
Yeah, he. Yeah, this is fantastic. I'll switch over here so everyone can kind of see like. Here he is. Tom Segura, just like
unbelievable.
He hated morning TV and stuff like that all the time.
He doesn't give a shit. He is so comfortable leaning into stuff like this.
Oh, he is so known for.
I mean?
He loves doing this kind of. He did the same thing with professional wrestling. Like he picked a beef with professional wrestling, where he basically was like, wrestling's dumb, except he said way worse words. He's like, wrestling's for dummies. He goes, "Oh, are you stupid? Can you not read? Then I understand why you like professional wrestling." And he just picked on him, and the wrestling community just lashed out wrestlers are like, you don't know what it's like to be an athlete. And then so Tom made his own like wrestling trash talk video where you're standing at a podium. His wife Christina was standing next to him in like his skimpy outfit. He's like, he came out, I forget what his name was, but he's like, yeah, you all are dumb, you're trash, prove me wrong. He's like, he's going after Garth Brooks. He doesn't give a shit. He's just, that's the thing I love a lot about him in a lot of ways, just as a comedian. Like he does
Tom Segura. If you just type it in, Tom Segura wrestling.
Yeah, I remember that I laughed my ass off when where he did it. Yeah, that's.
I just love.
Here he is. There he is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
He essentially was. He also paid for cameos from wrestling folks to say like, you know what, you are the best. Like it's saying that his character he created was the best, and no one can beat him and everything like that. People are like, what are you doing? This is such a cheap shill. He's just paying for people to promote. This is bullshit. No one of any sort of respect would ever say that stuff. I can't believe it. And he's like, he just leaned into it. He's like, I don't give a shit. He's like, go fuck yourself. Like,
that's absolutely amazing. I love the fact that he is the kind of comedian that does not doesn't care, and B knows that his fans are loyal enough to follow him on any crazy trolling adventure that he embarks on.
Yeah, I mean, one of his specials, I think it was called Disrespectful. He made a joke about Louisiana. And it caught all sorts of shit from people where he basically...
Is that why he apologized it in Ball Hog? Didn't he? Like he was... But like when I say apologize, like he's like, oh, Louisiana doesn't like me. Like I think he referenced it like a quote-unquote apologize, but used it as another dig. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those things where his jokes got taken out of context. And I loved like... the stuff they did, but he talked about how he was at a show one time and some guy was like, he's like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, he's like, what? He goes, I realized the guy was speaking Cajun. And he goes, and these people actually exist and we let them stay in our country. Like just starts ripping on the Cajuns. Yeah. Spoiler for the joke, he basically was like, yeah, we should build a wall around Louisiana and let them die or whatever. He just like says some sort of thing. And, apparently a lot of people were like, I'm offended on behalf of Louisiana. And Tom was just like eating it up. And he goes, so I'm going on tour this fall. First stop is New Orleans. I'll see you there. They're sold out.
And leans right into it.
Yeah. He goes, shows are sold out. Sorry, gang. No more tickets.
The fearlessness is what I respect because I don't have that. And I absolutely, I love that. It's incredible. It's incredible to see.
Well, he's just a silly guy. He does really silly shit, but also I love it when Tom gets fired up about stuff. I feel like he and I are similar in a lot of ways, and just the things that irritate him and the things that bother him. And when I hear him get fired up about things, it always just it tickles me to no end. Yeah. And when, of course, you throw Bert Kreischer into that for Two Bears, One Cave podcast, one of my favorites, and it's just it's pure madness, and it's one of my favorite things. I love it. I love it so much.
I just went back and watched because again I was we had fired up Haig was in town over the weekend and we had fired up the Ball Hog special, and then that led us to YouTube to look up something, and then one of the things that it served up was Two Bears One Cave top or best laughs. And one of them was when they did when Tom did the response video, the dance video, and Bert just the sound he was making, I actually had to mute the TV because I'm like, this is an uncomfortable sound. Like
when he really gets laughing, he sounds like a witch. Like it is.
It's like a dolphin witch that is being suffocated. That is the only way that I can describe
For
it.
context, how this worked is like Tom and Bert were talking shit. They will do these things where they talk shit to each other. For the longest time, Tom was just saying like, Bert is the fattest comedian, and people would, even their fans would get in on it. And Tom makes a reference to it in one of his specials, Disrespectful. He calls him by the wrong name and all that sort of stuff. So they just they constantly like to talk shit about each other. And one of the things was like, Bert's like, I could do it better. He's like, I can do a dance video. I can show you I can dance better than any of you. And he does it. Yeah. And it's fine. He goes and trains for it and things like that. But in secret, what Bert didn't realize, this is during one of their Sober October. situation where he and Joe Rogan and Ari Shaffir and Bert and Tom would all get together and do some sort of thing. They were just like putting on these things, measuring how much exercise they were doing. Tom, in secret, spent a shitload of money, hired a legit director.
Like $10,000, I think he said.
Yeah, he spent thousands of dollars to do a shoot. And he spent time practicing, did all this sort of stuff. They even tricked Bert into capturing his face so they could do a deep fake and put his face on a really fat person. And then Tom did all this stuff. And one day they noticed that Tom's activity shot through the roof, his calories and stuff like that. And Bert was like, yo, what's up? What are you doing? He goes, oh, yeah, I'm just hiking really hard today. But he was filming the shoot and he was dancing. Yeah. And so it's just out of nowhere. And the best part about this is I got to listen to this stuff as it happened every week. So I'm very familiar with all these moments. And that was one of the moments where Tom goes, hey, I got something for you. Yep. And he'd been sitting on it for a week. And he was just like chomping at the bit. He's like, I got something for you. He's like, put on your headset. And Bert's just like, what is this? And he plays it. And Bert loses his mind. Yeah. He's like,
again, go look it up online. You can hear it. The sound Bert makes is just uncomfortable. And he is beside himself in hysterics.
He's like, that may be the best thing I've ever seen.
Well, it was the silence at the end.
Yes.
Where like because it ends with Tom stabbing him to death.
Yes.
In the video.
Yeah.
And then it stops. It goes to black, and Bert sits there for conservatively 30 seconds in absolute silence, and just with tears in his eyes, just under his breath goes, "It's the best I've ever seen in my life."
Yes. Yeah.
And it couldn't breathe. Yeah.
I'd say another really great moment is when Tom realized that Bert drinks a gallon of Kool-Aid a day.
Oh my God. 64 ounces of red Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so much sugar. I literally just watched that the other night with Jill again because it came up on her feed. I'm like, well, we have to watch it. It makes me laugh every single time because Tom's natural reaction, because Bert is like, I'm hydrating, man. And he pours out a little bit in the podcast. Tom's like, what is that? He's like, it's Kool-Aid. Tom's like, what? He's like, pours something. He goes, oh my God, it is Kool-Aid. And he drinks it. He's like, this is really good. He's like, yeah, man, I drink 2 of these things a day. And Tom's like,
it's delicious. Yeah, it's so delicious.
It's so delicious.
He's so into it, yeah.
He's like, dude, it's so much sugar. He goes, and people are like, well, look at him, he's hydrating. He goes, no one knows you're drinking Kool-Aid. He goes, you're an adult.
Adult man.
And Tom loses his mind. He's crying, laughing. And so as Bert realizes, like, oh shit, I've been drinking. I'm not doing well. I'm drinking so much sugar.
This is not good. Yeah.
Yeah. Those moments always, man, they make me so happy. Like, there's been so many great ones. Oh, it makes me. Because Bert is a great guy. He just has these moments where you realize how bad he is at listening, and he knows it.
Yeah.
He talks about how bad he is at listening. He goes, I come in, fire hose my life onto somebody, and then walk away and being like, man, that was a good conversation. But he doesn't listen to anything.
Yeah.
And one of the most recent episodes, Tom goes, man, every time I hear Albert Pujols, I think, God damn, that guy's been around for a long time. Because I don't follow baseball, but he's like, man, that guy's got to, been around forever. And he goes, and I looked it up, and the guy's been doing stuff. He's been playing baseball as long as I've been in comedy. And Bert's like, oh yeah? He's like, yeah, he's been playing for 22 years. Bert goes, that's as long as I've been in comedy. And Tom goes, that's literally what I just said. And the two of them laugh for like 45 seconds because he's like, you're not listening. I literally just said that. Bert's like, I made the connection. That's as long as I've been doing comedy. I know.
Yep.
We started at the same time.
I think our podcast has just turned into essentially a re-listen podcast of Two Bears, One Cave.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's your recommendation. Go check out Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. It's good. It's fun. It tickles me. It makes me happy. It's my go-to. I've been catching up on it because I've been trying to catch up on Critical Role, and I got really behind on my regulars because that's like a 4-hour podcast, per episode. And I'm like, all right, I got to get caught up. And I got caught up. I'm like, all right, I'm done for now. And now it's going to build up again. I'm like, whatever. I'll catch up again soon. For now, I want to cut up on my fun stuff, on my silly stuff. Not that Critical Role is not fun, but it's just a different thing. You got to have a different mindset for it.
Yeah, so, you got to pay attention.
You do. You got to pay attention to that. And I'm like, I'm good. I've been listening to this a lot. I want to have silly fun time. Yeah. Silly fun time. Speaking of silly fun time, hey, did you all know that NASA is announcing its unidentified aerial phenomena research team to examine mysterious sightings?
Thank God.
It's big news, gang.
Thank God they're putting money into this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's kind of a big deal, you know, with all the declassified stuff that's happened recently, you know?
Yeah, is it?
I
what
mean,
have we found in the declassified stuff, Doug?
Well, instead of people being
aliens, flying saucers, what do we got?
I mean,
anything good?
People have, for the longest time have been just denying that any of that stuff exists. They don't talk about it. They don't acknowledge it. But then the government finally was like, all right, here's some weird shit that we've seen that we can't explain. And people are like, what? So I think it's interesting that they're actually putting together a 16-person team to actually review the unexplained aerial phenomena, or UAPs, for NASA. So
this is all the stuff that's been declassified. Now they're going to have a team of specialists go to work trying to disprove it.
They're basically going to go and examine it and be like, what is this? Is this something that's worthwhile or not? And they're basically going to look at any things that have peculiar sightings of objects behaving unlike anything we're familiar with. But until the full report is released to the public in mid-2023, NASA says everything will be kept a secret. So I get excited a little bit about this stuff, not like Tom DeLonge or anything like that, but I get kind of excited because I'm one of the people where I'm just like, statistically speaking, there has to be life out there, right? It's just math has to say this is true.
Yeah, I'm of this. Look, I'm leaning in hard to the skeptic side right now, but
Sure.
I absolutely am of the mindset that, statistically speaking, at least in my dumb brain, in the entire universe, there's got to be something else out there. Now, whether or not we're going to ever meet them, that's a whole nother conversation that unravels the Fermi paradox and the great filter, and that brings a whole different set of conversations to the table. But I do think that there's something out there somewhere.
I think it's great that after over 7 years of doing this, one of the very first episodes we did was on the Fermi paradox. Yeah. And it still sticks with us to this day. Like,
oh, absolutely.
I think that was one of the first things you and I were researching before we started the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I literally just, what's that, Kruzegart, or that YouTube, it's a science YouTube, hold on. I just showed Beth the videos for because I had mentioned it, and she was like, what's that? And I go, oh, we're going to dive into it now. And she was like, I instantly regret asking you. Kurzes, KURZGESAGT.
All right. You win the spelling game.
Anyway, it's a great YouTube channel that does animations around scientific. They explain science through these animations, and they've got some really cool videos. But they have one on the Great Filter, and they have a two-parter on the Fermi paradox, and it's a fun watch. So if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch that. And
well, we'll also give you a brief layman's term breakdown of it. The Fermi paradox basically says that math says, based on the scale and probability of the known universe, there should be intelligent life, but why haven't we seen or identified the intelligent life? So it's kind of a... Because if this universe is this big and we know there's other planets, there's other galaxies and things like that, why is it the only intelligent life only on Earth, more or less? This kind of examines how that is. And there's a lot of different theories, which is interesting. One of them being, I can't remember, there were some things that people were suggesting that if intelligent life does exist, well, first of all, the thing is like, if it doesn't exist elsewhere, it's because there's something called the Great Filter, which means that at some point in a civilization, something happens that prevents life from continuing on. They're also talking about the efficiency of the planet in which beings exist. If you can get to a certain level, you basically become self-sustaining in that you're using your resources and everything to their utmost efficiency, and things like that. But they're saying that somewhere there's a theory that there's just something that happens in a civilization that stops it, either dead in its tracks, eliminates it, or stops it from progressing any further, which would possibly be an explanation for why we haven't seen any other intelligent life out there. There's also a couple other additions on that, meaning that if a place becomes so self-sufficient, maybe they don't have a need to travel, because if they are that, productive, they're like, we don't need to go to find other resources because we've mastered our environment. Another one is that there are other intelligent life forms out there, but they don't think it's smart to broadcast to other places because there's a giant super predator out there.
Right.
Where they're like, yeah, it's not smart to be like, hey, you guys, because it's gonna, bring it along. But there was a whole series of like these theories as to why, it's also the assumption that whatever's out there is more advanced than us, which isn't necessarily the case. There could be other life, but it may be like, 75 million years behind where we are now. Just the idea that we're going to find something that's the exact same stage as us is also, I think, mathematically improbable.
Sure.
It's possible, right? Given the statistics of things that are out there. But there's just that thing, all of our media and movies and things like that, we just assume that something's going to be at our stage or greater. And we're going to be like, yes. It's like, nah, not necessarily. I do believe at some point in our time, as we continue to explore, we will find some signs of life. It may be microscopic, maybe bacteria, maybe plant life, and maybe something. I think we will find it somewhere else. I think in our lifetime, we won't necessarily see something that is what we picture it to be like in movies and media.
The video that does talk about, I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was the Great Filter one, does talk about that finding the existence of even a single-celled organism elsewhere would be catastrophically terrifying, because that means that it is almost certain that we are headed for extinction. Like that we are behind the Great Filter, not in front of. And
why do you say that? Why would even finding a microscopic thing like that mean that?
And I knew you were going to ask this, and that's why I said go watch the video.
Go watch the video, Doug.
I don't remember what their rationale was. I just remember that was a point. And the thing is, with all of this, the people who make these videos are much smarter than I. Yeah. And they cover these concepts that they cover, and the paradoxes and the thought, just the thinking exercises. I do my best to keep up on them. We also talk about a lot of dumb shit, so I only have so much space in my brain.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't remember all the rationale they used for a lot of this, but they did. I do remember one of them saying that the existence of life elsewhere, even as a lesser life form, would be, it's almost better for us to be the only things out there, because that means that we're good. Go watch the video for the rest of the explanation. They're great videos.
I would be finding life elsewhere. Again, I'm always of the mind that the more we find out that exists outside of our current realm of knowledge can be dangerous from a cultural and societal impact.
Sure. Because
people will search for something to claim a reason for why and how. We're very Earth-centric, obviously, and how things work. I don't think if you find plant life elsewhere, I usually go to religion, because religion seeks to explain the unexplainable, through faith and things of that nature. And I would like to think that if there's, we found this plant on Mars, people would be like, well, God also planted that as well. God is not just at Earth. God is throughout the universe, because he created the universe and things like that. But I think the more complicated things that you find, say we go to Mars and there's, cave paintings. And people are like, what? That I think complicates things. You know what I mean? That sort of knowledge I find to be existentially terrifying and also awesome at the same time. Because I feel like it opens up the window more to, I think, what is the core of the human spirit, which is exploration. And I think we can start focusing on a greater cause, something that can push us together as a human race more so than, oh my God, the stock market took a dip today as Tesla laid off another group of people. It's like, that shit doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. We are occupying our time and our minds with things because we created these things. But if it's like, hey, there was this other possible civilization on Mars, to me personally, that's like a moment where I'm like, wait, what?
Oh yeah.
How do we get there?
Right.
And fast. Right. How do we figure this out? And it turns into a Prometheus sort of situation where people, that's how the movie is these folks find the same cave paintings all around the world that seem to pinpoint something, gives them clues to find a signal or something that sends them off to basically their doom as they go to the universe to find their creator. But it's something where, to me, it elevates us beyond the normal, dumb, day-to-day stuff that I think we get mired in.
Yeah, I am full agree. I mean, and you also have said for a long time that, you know, if we were visited by an alien race and they were hostile, and the world came together, look out. Like if there was something that could unify the entirety of Earth, we would be unstoppable. This would give us a kick in that direction. If we found cave paintings or remains or something, and I think that would be something that could spark us into coming together and uniting us as a humanity towards working to that. Now, that being said, there are 100% going to be people who try to throw that off, and that won't be a fix-all, but I think that will bring there would be a lot of people coming together from around the world to research this. And I think it would be ultimately a good thing.
A discovery, I think, is more divisive than unifying because people are going to have more preconceived notions. People are going to, I think a threat is more unifying than a discovery.
A threat is more unifying, but what I'm saying is I think not on the same level as a threat to bring us together, but I do think that it would, if there was something found on a planet, I do think that it would bring a large population together. A larger percent than, look, a threat, yes, because we're all working towards not being extinct. Mm-hmm. But a discovery like that, I'd have to assume myself, that would bring at least some collective of people together.
Yeah, I think so. It'd have to depend on what it is. If someone finds, hey, we found this, bacteria that doesn't exist anywhere else, people would be like, who fucking cares, But you find something like a cave painting or a mummy, a mummified body of something, or a fossil. Like that's going to have people really be like, whoa, wait, what? Like a fossil?
That's what I think could bring people together if we found a resource, like a fuel source or something of value. Now all bets are off. That would be the opposite direction.
Dude, imagine if someone found, they found the spice from Dune.
Yeah, right.
Right, and people realize how to harness it and how to use it. Jesus Christ, the space race would be off and running at that point in time to clamor to get those materials. Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ, that would be a fucking nightmare. Because that's a real possibility in the future, especially as like SpaceX and some of these companies are privatizing trips to space and things like that. I mean, this could be a real. I've heard people talking about trying to find ways to harvest comets and asteroids as they fly by because they have very valuable minerals like palladium and things like that are very rare on Earth. People start finding a way to make that stuff as sustainable and profitable as possible. That's a dangerous way to go. Capitalism is a dangerous way to lead with this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Very dangerous way to do it.
It'd be the worst. It'd be the absolute fucking worst possible outcome. Yeah.
If we've learned anything from like social media and what the pioneers do there, and then like there's no unringing a bell in a lot of ways. You can't just be like, well, we started doing this. It's like, now you can't do that. They're like, fuck you. We've created the international highway to get from Earth to Mars. We own it. We own the space rights to this. Because then that gets a whole new different thing, right? This is where Practical Doug's kicking it overdrive. It's like, so what are the laws in space, right? Like what are the we have, what is it, maritime law?
It's pirate law, Doug. This is the new pirate law.
I guess, right? Because what resource, like let's say some private company is able to get out there and just dominate that sort of stuff. There should probably be regulation down on Earth, but what if they're like, fuck you?
Right.
I currently have all of the things that I need to get everything I need from space, I'm sure someone would work to sabotage and fuck them over and everything.
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to say, like, the company on Earth, what remains on Earth would be the funding that that you need on Earth to get up there.
Oh, they'd be saying sanctions. They'd be taxed. That would be like the front facing stuff. There'd be some back end shit where people would be like, "You better fucking knock it off," or "You better loop us in," or "You better," like, there would be so much shit that those people better basically have hired the best or bought off the right people or lobbied for the right things, because otherwise they're coming to get them. Coming to get them.
You come and get them.
They gonna get you. You know.
Yeah. But back to the article, I do think that it's cool that there's a 16-member team being put together that is going to look into this stuff. There is a part of me, the devil's advocate part of me, that looks at this and goes, do we need to spend money on this? Is this a good resource to spend money on? Are we going to, we're researching sightings of things that are unexplainable. What are we hoping? I guess my question to this would be, what are we hoping to uncover? What is the goal here? How will we know if we've succeeded? Is this just out of morbid curiosity? Is it out of, like, why? Why are we spending money?
Assumption here. Number one, that there has to be enough evidence here for them to warrant putting 16 people together. Like, this just can't be one weird YouTube video that someone shot, years ago. They're like, let's sit together for the next year and figure out what this is. There has to be enough, because these are images stuff captured from military vessels and airplanes and things like that, where they're like, wait, what? I don't know what this is. And they've captured them. Obviously they're recording for a lot of reasons, but they're probably just checking to make sure that, because these could be any number of things. They could be a new technology that the country has put together, and they don't know exactly what it is. It's not necessarily aliens, in that sort of regard. So it's good for them to sort of do the research and figure out what that is. So I have to imagine there has to be enough sort of stuff there for them to be like, we probably should dedicate some time and some personnel to this to investigate it. And second of all, I think, and probably the more important thing, is they have to disprove that it's not squirrels, because let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's probably squirrels.
If there's something that is flying around and it does not obey the laws of physics, my first gut instinct says squirrels.
There's flying squirrels. I rest my case. So, I've never seen anything move like that before. Just it flies through the air.
Is this an eggcorn?
I don't know what this is. This is bizarre. I don't know. I think just keeping that joke going. I don't know. I'm curious. Like, I say, I'm all for this. I'm like, explore it, find out if you can what this stuff is, because I think it's also, you're pretty full of hubris to think that we know and understand everything. To be like,
absolutely. We can. I think, from an exploratory standpoint, I get it, but I just think I guess I look at this and I'm like, the amount of money that they're probably sinking into this, like. I get what do I just.
I mean, it can't be that much. NASA's budget ain't that huge anymore, but
Is there anything in here that talks? There's not, that talks about cost.
No, I mean, I'm sure you could do some searches and find out.
16-person team. What are they calling the
Suicide Squad?
Released mid-2023. NASA says everything will be kept a secret. A secret.
A secret. You guys can't find it. It's a secret.
UPA NASA team budget. I'm just curious. Let's see.
Yeah.
NASA. Oh, there you go. Fiscal year 2023 budget estimates. NASA. That's true. Most of this stuff is, it's government, so I think it's got to be disclosed, right?
Yeah.
Let's open this PDF as my computer gets flagged.
Could be worse. So this says NASA says their work will lay the groundwork for future UAP studies. The first phase is a brainstorm to see how observations that civilian government entities and commercial data have gathered could be analyzed, and then they'll look at how future data can be collected. So, sounds pretty.
Holy shit! This is a 988-page document. I'm closing it now.
You want to know what it is? It's in there. The truth is out there, Justin, in this PDF. Jared says, ghosts are squirrels, UFOs are flying squirrels. Doug Cochran. You're goddamn right. You heard it here.
Or UAP, that's what it is. UAP. I'm just going to search the document. Nope, can't find it. We're closing it out. Done. That's
I like this too. They said they're going in with an open mind, and
Yeah.
we expect to find that explanations will apply to some events and different explanations will apply to others. We will not underestimate what the natural world contains, and we believe there's a lot to learn. So,
yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I think this is cool, and I'm curious to see what some of the things are that come out of this. I'm being a little bit devil's advocate here, just for the sake of the conversation, but there is a part of me that thinks, look, we've up to this point, anything that's been captured has been disproven, has been found out to be pretty much nothing. Like, it's a big nothing burger. So
Yeah.
I will be I hope, let me put it this way. I hope something very interesting and very revelatory or revolutionary comes out of this. Because that would be, to me, that would make this worth it. And the money's back.
no, I'm with you. I would be curious just to know. I'd just like to know more. Like, if there's this stuff that's happening that we don't fully understand, and it's one thing if someone's like, I saw something in the sky. It must have been Tuesday last.
Yep.
And it was up that way. It's like, cool. Thanks, Kevin. But people are like, yeah, these are military, planes and things like that are capturing this footage, and these people that have spent their time, most of their careers, flying in the skies and seeing this stuff, and they're like, I don't know what that is.
Right.
That's weird to me. Like, that sort of stuff piques my curiosity. And again, I'm not necessarily saying, like, yep, it's an alien, but I mean, it'd be great to investigate. If there's enough of them there where we're like, man, we've got lots of footage of this shit and we don't know what it is.
Sure.
Can we please put something together to take a look at this? Because this seems unusual, and maybe there's something to be learned from it, and maybe there can be some unique discoveries with it. I don't know, but I'm here for it. I say do it.
Be curious. What I'm curious to see is if all this footage, will there be any correlation between all the different sightings, or are all of them going to be unique? Because, like, if there's, like, let's say hypothetically there's 20 files they're looking at. There's way more, but let's say hypothetically there's 20 files. Out of those 20, 15 are deemed to be the same thing. Now we're cooking with some gas here. Like, okay, well, now what is this thing that keeps popping up that everyone is seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
But if it's 20 different things that are all random, then I don't know. I'm curious to see if there's any correlation between all the different sightings.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting, to say the least, and I'm curious to see what they find. Can't wait till mid 2023 to see what they yeah. I think it's a big deal. Again, just saying that the military and the government in general is basically saying, yes, there's shit out there we can't explain. I think that's it. And not only that, they're declassifying it and releasing it to the public. I think that's a big deal.
I will say that it is the big deal. I guess the other thing that I'm worried about, the thing that concerns me, is declassifying it, releasing it to the public. I'm worried about all the nutbags out there. The Tom DeLongs out there. I'm very worried about. I'm like, oh, what's this going to do for that? Because we're already in an unstable enough place, man.
Yeah, I know. But maybe it's what we need to pull our lives together,
So mid 2023, we're looking at the Marvels being released. We're going to be after Guardians 3.
When's Guardians 3 come out?
Guardians 3 comes out May 5th.
And then Ant-Man Quantumania comes out February 17th.
And the Marvels come out July 28th. I'm just trying to see if there's any sort of... What's that?
I don't know. I'm pretty lukewarm on that one.
Are you?
Hopefully it's good. We'll see.
The team up of the three?
Who's the three? It's Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and who else?
The
other lady.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Monica Rambeau. Yeah. And then what do we got as far as mid 2023? Echo is coming out and Loki is coming out.
Woo.
So
I'm curious for that.
I will say that is it coincidence that the Marvels, which deal with space travelers, will be coming out at the same time or around the same time that this report gets released?
Not just space travelers, but also the Jinn, Justin.
Coincidence? Probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
But
who knows?
Feige, I'm just saying, look, you heard it here first. This is a Mind Gap exclusive. Kevin Feige knows more than he's letting on.
This is a Mind Gap exclusive.
I would lick the poll. Fuck around and find out.
That's right.
Yep.
You heard it. You heard it, fam. Fam!
questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask. Practical, 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 practical. Ask Practical Doug.
Oh, it's the time again. We got an Ask Practical Doug. If you've never been here for Ask Practical Doug, Practical Doug is a tiny Doug that lives inside of Big Doug and guides Big Doug in all of life's journeys and adventures and other things. And you can ask Practical Doug a question if you'd like. You can join us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. That's when we do this.
Very good.
And I had to do the time shift in my head. 7 p.m. Central, and you can ask on YouTube with everyone else who's hanging out online here on any social medias at MindGap Podcast, and you can hashtag Ask Practical Doug, or you can join our Discord where there is a dedicated channel for Ask Practical
Justin,
Doug.
how would you know which channel to put that in our Discord?
My best guess is the Looking For group.
That is a terrible guess, sir.
Okay.
Terrible guess.
Can I try again?
One more.
General.
Now we're talking.
Awesome. Is it the Doug voice mod? Voice chat. The Doug, what is it?
What?
It's the one that's, hold on. Let me open it up.
Oh my God.
It's going to be, I've got low battery. Hold on. Oh, it's the Hangout. Is it the voice Hangout?
There we go.
Is that where you post it?
It's Ask Practical Doug, and although there's no description for what the channel is, I bet you can figure out that you go to that channel, you can ask Practical Doug.
Is it fitness?
Yeah, we can talk about fitness there.
If you've got a practical question about fitness, where does it go, Doug?
Make a choice.
This is,
and if you get it wrong, I will embarrass you in front of everybody.
It's just, we need to put together a team of 16 experts, Doug.
We do. To decipher this goddamn Discord, apparently. Because it's confusing as fuck.
It's so confusing, man. Okay, so, Doug, this question, I believe, comes from Slotty. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
He posed this question. So Slotty asks, Doug Cochran, do you sock, shoe, shoe, or do you sock, shoe, shoe?
This one this has been living in my head for days. And I'm going to tell you why. Because these are the things that we just do every day, have done every day for our life, and not even thought twice about it. And when someone challenges that reality, you have an existential moment. Bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
For anyone who was not watching this, Justin sneezed, and he was cool. He muted his microphone because he's a cool dude. The second someone questions that reality, you have an existential moment where you're like, wait, what? Why would anyone want to do that? And you don't want to be disrespectful, but also you're like, that's crazy. Right. For me, I go sock, shoe, shoe. And I'll tell you why. One, it doesn't seem very efficient to do sock, shoe. If I've learned anything from watching cooking videos, what most chefs say is you find one task and you make sure you do that task, as opposed to do that task and then do a different task, come back to your first task. They're like, if you're going to chop stuff up, chop up all of your stuff and then put them where they need to go. So
place, baby.
That's right. Same thing here. If I'm putting on my sock, I'm going to put on my other sock. And it can also, there's some practical elements of what if your feet are cold? You don't want to leave one cold foot just dangling out there while you not only put the sock on, but then put the shoe on for extra installation. That's just crazy. But also, the idea of having a sock and a shoe on one foot and having a bare foot on the other, it seems very uncomfortable, strange. Feels weird. Have you ever put on shoes while wearing underwear? Just underwear?
I'm sure in my lifetime I have.
It's weird.
Yeah.
To be in your underwear, just your underwear, no shirt, no pants, just your underwear and shoes. You're like, this doesn't feel right. Why would I be doing this right now? There's not been a situation where I need to have my underwear on and just my shoes. Yeah. This is strange. Which is why whenever I've seen porn with guys wearing shoes, I'm like, that's uncomfortable. I can't do this.
Get here? That's the question. How did we get to this position?
Andrew Santino had a great joke about that. How he's like, I respect the guys that do that, because not only do they get naked, in order to get naked, they have to take off their shoes. But then after they're naked, they're like, I'm putting these back on because it's important to them, you know?
Because these are the new Jordans.
Yes,
and
right? And God damn it, I need the support because I don't want plantar fasciitis, you know?
Right. Also, you get a good grip on it. You got the traction on the bottom, good treads. So I would also say, and I don't know about you, but I don't typically, and this is debatable because some people do, I know, and it's not that weird, but I don't typically wear my shoes around the house.
No.
I walk around the house. So when I'm getting dressed, I'll get dressed, I'll put my socks on, and then if I'm going out the door, I will then put my shoes on. But rarely am I in the position where I've got my shoes next to my clothes while I'm getting ready, or I'm just walking around without socks on and I bring them to where my shoes are by the door. Like, usually the two things aren't near enough each other. Like, if I'm getting dressed, I'm dressed, I've got the socks on. If I'm going to leave right away, then I go over to where the shoes are and I put the shoes on. Very rarely are they in the same area. So my brain is trying to wrap itself around in what scenario is someone doing sock shoe.
Well, Jared, tell us more, because apparently Jared says he does sock shoe because he's already raised that leg. So the leg's up, he puts on a sock. He's like, well, my foot's already up here, so I might as well put on my shoe.
Interesting.
So
tell us more about the situation there, Jared.
Because that sounds, again, because it's almost kind of like, it's less unusual, but wearing shoes and socks with a swimsuit, right?
Yeah.
Because typically you're wearing sandals, because the idea is that wherever you're going, you will be getting wet and, you know.
Or I'll slip my shoes on but no socks at that point. That's just how I'll roll with that.
Still feels weird walking around, you know, in that sort of situation. And yet, women in just combat boots is sexy as hell.
Australia.
I love it, man.
We've talked about before too. Early on, I think we were at the basement of E&C when we were talking about it. But we talked about changing up your routine. Mm-hmm. Like if you put your pants on, do you put them on left leg first or right leg first, and then trying to do it with the opposite leg first. And how it's like my pants feel like they're on backwards right now because I don't like. That's just not weird, you know. Or if you put a shirt on, do you put your head and then your arms? Do you put your left arm through and then your head and then your right, head, left, right, then head, and then try to switch it up and just see how wrong it feels. You know, so I feel like this is a very similar thing where I would do this and I'd be like, this just feels like everything's on wrong right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Those routines, right? Like, you brush your teeth and you do it a certain way, or you know,
it's funny
before you do this or after that, or
It's funny because Seth also had a similar image, which I'm going to shoot over to you now as well, about brushing your teeth, which is, how do you brush your teeth? And it has three options. The first option is...
Are you sharing this on the thing?
I will share it.
All right.
So people can see what this is. I got to bring it over to this side of the screen.
This is great.
You all can see it.
And so, for the podcast listeners, there's three different options here. How do you brush your teeth? So it's either, do you put water on the brush, then toothpaste, and then water again, and then engage? Or do you put the toothpaste on, dry, then water? Or do you just put the toothpaste on and go to town?
Yeah, and the person says everyone should pick one. So what I do is, I do 2/3 of number one, which is I do water first, and then toothpaste, and then I brush.
Got it. Okay.
I don't add extra water on there because the toothbrush is already wet.
Yes, I could see that. I'm trying to think because I used to do number one fully. I would do water, toothpaste, water. And now I'm legitimately trying to remember. I think I do number two now. It's so funny. I actually have to think about this one. I don't, if I were to do it, I would know it felt right or wrong. But now that I'm actually trying to think through the steps of it, I'm having a hard time recalling.
This is my crazy logic for it. Number two seems crazy to me because you put the toothpaste on a dry toothbrush, you put water on it, but the toothpaste is covering some of the toothbrush, so it may not get fully wet because the toothpaste can kind of act like an umbrella. So you potentially have some dry bristles in there, which is no good.
Why is it no good? Why do we need water in the first place?
Well, you don't just want to scratch the shit out of your teeth. You also need some water to kind of get the foam going with the toothpaste.
What saliva's for? Put water in your mouth. Do a mouthful of water, gargle it, then hold it for 30 seconds. Then brush your teeth.
That
with
could
no toothpaste, but just a brush.
Okay.
A hairbrush.
Instead of water, it's cum.
Always keep them guessing which way you're going to go.
What? Huh? Comedy! Yeah, and definitely not 3. Just straight toothpaste and getting in there, that is absurd. That's crazy.
No. I do think, I think I do, I think currently I'm doing toothpaste water, but I'm not opposed to number 1 either. Like, the thing is, I respect 1 and 2. I have no love for people who do 3.
Yeah, 3 seems pretty metal.
3 seems like a sock shoe type of person. The person who brushes their teeth like number 3 is the same person who puts on sock shoe, and the same person who jumps into their pants both legs.
It's the same person. The person who does number 3 is the same person that's like, I use Listerine with all the alcohol because if it's not burning, it's not working.
Right. Yeah, they swish with Fireball.
Yeah, they have powdered toothpaste that they just sort of dump on a horse bristle brush, and they go, we got to get to work here. And they're just like, it doesn't taste good. It tastes like chalk because that's how the world works. You want flavor in your toothpaste? How bad do you think
they
when
use
people start
powder on a wire brush? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much bullshit do you think like the masculine community was like when they're like, we're flavoring the toothpaste? They're like, pussies. You what? You want spearmint on your teeth? You goddamn pansy. Just use it with the chalk. Use the chalk taste. Just what are you trying to do? You have yourself a little dessert while you brush your teeth. You clean your teeth, Sally.
Sally, we use Irish Spring in our teeth.
That's goddamn right. It's good enough for my armpits. Good enough for my teeth.
Bite it, spit it. Move on with your day.
I survived the Great War.
How are you still alive, Great Grandpa?
Well, mustard gas didn't get me, so fuck you, death. That's why.
Jared
fucking Kaiser.
Water pushes the toothpaste into the bristles. The
okay.
Water pushes the toothpaste into the bristles.
I mean, that's true.
That's why number 2 works for him.
The important question is, do you keep your tap running the whole time while brushing? No, I don't do that.
No, I love the full question. Yeah.
Do you do that, or are you a good person? I'm a good person.
Absolutely, yeah.
I remember I had to see a lot of commercials as a kid to be like, oh, that's wasteful,
Yep.
Because I was just it's running while you're brushing your teeth, and you're like, this is good. This is good.
Sometimes I'll space out and I'll realize and turn it off, but I always turn it off. Yeah,
very true. Well,
there you go. That's our routines, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. Practical Doug says sock, shoe, shoe, and says do what you want with your teeth. Just don't put toothpaste on it because that ain't right. That ain't right.
Yeah.
There we go, everybody. We did it.
That ain't right.
We fucking did it, and you're welcome. Decisions. All right, Justin, recommendations. What would you like to recommend this week?
So I'm years late to the game on this, but AJR, the band. I am very much getting into them right now.
Is that like Dave Matthews Band 2 or something?
No, it is not. They have a few songs that you would know.
Doubt it.
Okay, fair enough. They've got a few songs that you would know. There was one song of theirs that I knew was them, and then as I've been listening, I'm like, oh shit, they did that one too. Oh shit, they did that one too. And so now I'm really starting to come into. They have you remember the band Fun?
Yeah.
They have a similar sound to me. So Fun went on an indefinite hiatus, and I enjoyed that band. That sentence
just is so true for the last 2 years. Fun went on an indefinite hiatus since 2020.
Absolutely, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this band scratches that itch for me because they sound enough like them where I'm like, cool, I get that kind of quirky sound, but they're very much their own thing. And so I like, I'm really digging what they're doing with some of their stuff. And I've been enjoying watching them on Instagram, and I'm very, very interested to see a live show because it looks like they put on a very cool, visually heavy show as well. So I would say check out AJR, and might not be for everyone, but I am thoroughly enjoying them right now.
I loved as I'm looking it up. It says, "Why did AJR get canceled?" I was like, "Wait, what?"
Oh, did they? Uh-oh.
Well, apparently they were going to play in Russia, but they canceled after, the invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, whoops, that's not good." Does AJR support LGBTQ? Yes, they do. All right, so far so good. They're passing the tests.
That song that goes, can we skip to the good part?
Oh, that's literally what Jared just typed in the chat as you said that.
Yes, that's them. The other one, that's one of their bigger ones. Another one you might know is Bang. And then if you are on Instagram or TikTok at all, then you have definitely heard people using the song World's Smallest Violin in an ungodly amount of videos.
I'm definitely seeing those tracks. I'll have to check them out here. Okie dokie. Well, I will check them out, and I'll let you know if I've heard them.
Wonderful. Dougie, what do you got?
I would recommend Wakanda Forever. Just released last weekend, and if you like Black Panther, then I think you're going to like this movie. It's really, really good. Some people have been a little on Phase 4 of Marvel. It's been kind of all over the place thematically, which or tonally, and I'd say to some extent that's good. Try some stuff out. That's cool. Not everything has to be the same. This is pretty serious, pretty dark at times, pretty emotional. I gotta say, Ryan Coogler had one of the shittiest jobs, which was essentially to have to pay tribute to Chadwick Boseman and then also pay tribute to T'Challa, all while trying to exist and have a movie that actually has a point and sends a message, and also filming this in a pandemic with one of the stars who refused to get vaccinated, which makes trying to separate art from artists very difficult in the movie. But it's a solid film, man. It was really, really good. And I'll say this, I cried. Made me cry. Right. It moved me to tears. And not a lot of levity in it, so don't go in looking for some hoo-ha, yeah. They do some best to try and lighten the mood, but it's a pretty serious film, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's probably one of the more grounded. This is saying a lot for Marvel Universe, but it's pretty grounded. Yeah, it's a pretty grounded film considering everything, and I thought it was a really solid film. I was excited. I'm glad I went.
Bring Namor into it. Like I feel that's not easy to ground that. We're bringing
that shit happens, but I think it's like if you're used to the Marvel Universe, you're like, yeah, there's gonna be stuff happening, but overall, you're like, this is just like Black Panther, the film. The through lines through it, the themes are very like grounded and they're very interesting, and I don't know. It struck a good chord with me, so I'd say go check it out if you haven't already.
Beth and I are probably going to go see it this weekend. Can I ask you this without spoiling? And if it spoils it, then you can say pass. Do they explain why up to this point? I find it entertaining anytime we run into a new hero, if they've existed. If we watch their origin story happen, that's one thing. But if we run into a new hero that's existed, or if we run into a whole new race of people that we've never seen before in all of these years and everything that's happened, saving the world multiple times, did they explain why we're just now meeting King Namor, and the people?
Oh yeah, they've got a good explanation for it too, in my opinion.
Great. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
That's fair. Well, yeah, it's good. That stuff is pretty solid. So I'd be curious once you watch it, we can talk all about it. Be a fun conversation to have. All right, gang. Well, that's the show for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. And please don't forget to follow us on all our social medias at MindGap Podcast. If you'd like to check out the podcast live, like our good friend Jared and others, check us out at youtube.com/MindGapPodcast. We live stream the podcast on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central. I also host a video game stream on Fridays, currently at 8 p.m. Central. So come check out, hang out with us. We're usually playing silly games and having a good time, so it's really, really fun. And if you like what you're seeing here, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. We're up to 242 subscribers, which is really big for us. And we're moving along. We've had a couple of good batches of shorts that we put out there from silly clips of the show. So if you could do us a solid, like what you see, hit subscribe if you're so inclined, and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about aliens and the Fermi paradox. Do you think we're going to find alien life anytime soon? And if so, what do you think it'll do to society? Hit a comment down below. Also, be sure to check out our Discord to join our community and be part of everything we got going on. There's a link in the description down below. And then also check out our merch at redbubble.com. And if you feel so inclined to give us some money, head over to patreon.com/mindgappodcast. Drop us some cash. It'd mean the world to us. And then don't forget to follow Justin online as well.
On Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it while you're in the online realm. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Good Pods, all the places where you can find and consume quality podcasts. You can find us. And we ask you to do all the things, the sharing, subscribing, rating, reviewing. Those mean a lot. And then 2east8th.com and 2east8th on all social medias, as well as loveandimprovfilm.com. Love and Improv on Twitter, Love and Improv Film on Instagram. Go ahead and follow along with all the goodness that's happening with the movie.
Good stuff. Thanks for hanging out with us, gang. We always appreciate you. And with that, I'll say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Chad, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Jared says the worst part of Marvel Phase 4 is the Marvel fans. What's worse? Star Wars fans, Lord of the Rings fans, or Marvel fans?
That is a tough...
I know it's a Venn diagram where people can be more than one. I think Star Wars fans are the worst, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't know. Lord of the Rings fans are right up there now.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think the true fans of Lord of the Rings are okay. It's the not necessarily fans that sort of bled into that. And we're like, this is social justice shit. And they didn't really give a shit. They were going to watch the show no matter what.
Right.
So,
yeah, I can see that.
I don't think I've really had problems with Lord of the Rings fans in general. They're just like, this lore doesn't match up. I'm like, that's a fair call out, Whereas Star Wars fans have... Now, Marvel fans aren't great. They're not great right now, especially like how they treated She-Hulk and how Brie Larson's gotten bullied for dumb shit. The Butthurt Boys are out and, In
fairness, we have ragged on Star Wars quite a bit ourselves.
Oh, yeah. But I think it's fair criticism. It's not us being assholes. You know what I mean? We're not being gatekeepers to the content. We're not, being like, hey, prove it. Prove that you like this stuff. It's just dumb. Or, I don't know. Yeah, it's gotten bad. I think fandom in general has gotten just horrible. Just absolutely horrible.
I will say fandom in general, yes. That I will 100%, yeah.
I don't know what it is about this. Like, I just saw this today, too, where people, were obviously waiting in long lines to get the Taylor Swift tickets, and one girl was like, I think in order to get in this queue, you have to prove that you're a fan of the music. Like, submit your ID to your Spotify or your Apple Music so it proves that you actually own the music before you can get in here. And it's like, what?
Right.
What? I'm sorry you have to wait in line.
Yeah, that's a little, like, you don't own the fandom. You don't own the rights to being a fan of this individual.
Now, look. Is going to a concert for Taylor Swift going to mean more to some people than others? Sure. You could say that. You could say that Star Wars means more to some people than others based on whatever, this, that, the other thing. Sure. But the idea that, people can't try stuff out because we've already seen some things, like the Star Wars stuff, like I'm all for them trying shit. I'm like, give shit a try. Star Wars doesn't resonate with me anymore. Right. I'm just kind of done with it. It's just whatever. Jared says, I think Marvel fans are worse because Marvel is more broad, so they've got more toxic about it. Well, I think what we've run into is after the Infinity Saga, we are now expanding our hero roster, and I think it's because, to your point, Jared, I think because it's getting more broad in that regard. I think people are starting to get a little more toxic in who they're bringing into this world. You know, like Echo and Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. And because, I mean, before it was a bunch of white dudes, right?
Yeah.
That's what everyone was like, yeah, this makes sense. And now it's just sprinkling in some ladies, you know, Captain Marvel. People were like, boo, boo. This movie sucks, which, for the record, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that movie. It's fine, but I think it's one of the weaker ones. But it's not because of Brie Larson. It's not because, you know, I'm curious to see more of her. I think she's a badass. She's awesome in Endgame and everything like that. I think it's fantastic. But I just don't like the idea that, and we've talked about this before, which is I think people think that everything that's made is made for them. And that's not the case. And even though you're a Marvel fan, there may be a series like She-Hulk that's not necessarily made for you. It may be made for a different group of people. And that's okay. You don't have to like everything that Marvel puts out. That's okay. I think that's a hard thing to wrap your head around too, right? Because I want to like everything Marvel puts out.
Absolutely, and it feels like a personal slight. You're just like, man, their quality's falling off. But again, with I mean, you mentioned Miss Marvel or She-Hulk. I'll mention Miss Marvel. Like, I watched it and I understand the audience that they were targeting. I do think that there was a lot of issues with the story.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I am also very, very ready to admit that I'm not the target demographic. So really, my opinion only goes so far on that. And that's fine by me. I'm not upset by it. Like, it exists, and I'm glad it exists. I'm not mad at it. It's, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's the people who get mad at that kind of shit. And they're just like, if it doesn't meet my impossible standards, then take it off the air. That's
a good point. And Jared's brought this up in the past too, which is it's okay to not like something and also be glad that it exists. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. Like, I'm glad Miss Marvel exists. I tried really hard to enjoy it, but the story just absolutely drove me crazy. But I liked the actors. I liked that it was, you know, showcasing the Pakistani community. I thought that was awesome. It had some real opportunities for that sort of stuff, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, the story was a mess. It's an absolute mess. Yeah. And just, you know, some of the visuals too were like, woof, you know, they didn't work that well. But also, I'm just not a huge fan of Miss Marvel, the character, but also that's just not someone I know a ton about and haven't really paid a lot of attention to. So it's fine. It's fine. I don't necessarily like her powers. I think they're kind of weird, but whatever, you know, that's fine. I don't like Jubilee either. Okay. And that's fine. That's okay.
Look, there's no accounting for taste, Doug.
Justin just clicks end call. He's like, that's it. I'm out of here. You know, and I think that's a hard thing when you're such a fan of a franchise. Because, I mean, when something doesn't go right, you don't like it. You're like, oh, man, I don't like that, you know? And it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. And I think that's why I've had such a hard time with Star Wars, because I'm like, this could be better in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't meet my expectations, but I've softened on some of it now because I'm just like, I just don't care. I just don't care about Star Wars. I'm like, whatever. I just, you know, that whole franchise was really important to me for a large portion of my life, and now I'm like, I'm good. Yep. I don't need to see more space magic. I'm fine.
Right.
I mean, is Star Wars cool at times? Absolutely, but I'm also like, I don't want to invest in, like, maybe I'll watch Andor at some point.
I'm fully planning on coming back to, because I talked to a guy who's a very big Star Wars fan, and he was like, I was like, is Andor worth it? And be honest. And he goes, he goes, I can admit it starts off slow. He goes, but once they get to and I'll spoil it, the prison break scene, it's fucking amazing. And I was like, okay, that's fair.
I've heard Andy Serkis is awesome in it. You know, like
once it's all, I don't know if it's all. It's probably.
I think it's all out there now. Yeah.
So I probably will revisit it, but I won't do it with any sort of urgency.
Yeah, maybe I'll check it out at some point. But yeah, I'm not. That's definitely one I'm not be like, boy, I can't wait to watch this every week.
Yeah.
And be held to suspense.
Yeah.
Jared says, to be clear, I don't mean actual fans. I'm talking about the toxic fans. Yeah, I mean, how do you... Can toxic fans also be actual fans? You know? I don't know. I don't like anyone who's going to try and gatekeep someone from an experience, you know, who's just like, oh, you're not a real fan because you didn't blah, blah, blah. It's like, fuck off. I don't care. Or someone's like, oh, this wasn't true to the content. Well, okay. Like what we had with Tim Sasko, like, listen, if it's detrimental to your overall experience, valid criticism, right? But if they're taking creative liberties and it works, a la The Boys, I'm like, I'm here for it, you know? I don't care. Take some creative liberties. See what you can do with it. Try to do it your own way. I don't have a problem with that. But, yeah, it's the people that, for some reason, if they don't see themselves on screen, a.k.a. white people, they're like, what is this? I can't identify with this. Like, Turning Red. Or they're like, this is about an Asian girl and her family in San Francisco. I can't identify with this. I'm like, really? You can't identify with puberty?
Right.
Like, you can't understand any of that stuff, having pressure from your family to do something that you don't want to do. I feel like there's a pretty universal story trope. Yeah. And like, I can't identify with, they're in Canada too. I don't get that. I'm sorry, I said San Francisco. It's Canada. They're like, no, I don't understand anything about that. Period. Gross. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Jared says you like Andor. Yeah, well, you also like Superman Returns, sir. So I'll take that with a grain of salt, buddy. Love you, buddy. I love you. Now I'll check it out, but I'm just like, I'm balls deep in anime right now. I subscribe to Crunchyroll, which is the app that's all about anime. Yeah. And it's been fun, man. Here's something that's shitty I forgot to talk about on the podcast. I started watching Attack on Titan because I'd seen the first season. I'm like, oh, man. And there's like 3 more seasons. And their seasons do not run like normal seasons. Like, there's almost 90 episodes in like 4 seasons. But there's like season 3, part 1, season 3, part 2, season 3, part 3. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, this season's forever. But I realized that. So I watch all of it. And I watched the last episode, and then it just stops. It's like right in the midst of something big, and I'm like, wait, where's the next one? They're like, oh yeah, this isn't done yet. Final season's supposed to come out in 2023, and I was like, no! I thought this was done! No! I'm so mad! I was like, this is like the climax of the show. They're like, oh yeah, we've still got another part. It's coming out in 2023. I'm like, no! Yeah. It's unfortunate. That show, dude, it's good, but Jesus, the twists and the turns, and it is a bleak show. If you like Walking Dead and the bleakness of Walking Dead, you would probably like this, but there's some point where I'm like, how much more are we going to do this? Like, what's the truth in this story? Because this story is just still going on here, man, and we're just who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Because I was rooting for this guy, and then I'm not. And I'm like, I don't like him again. Oh, no. Yeah. What are we doing? It's a lot. And then I switched. Go ahead.
I already had to stop watching Walking Dead, so I'm not going to start this.
Yeah. It's not done yet, so I wouldn't recommend it. But
either way.
The first season, I think, is really solid. And what I'll give the show credit for is, dude, they lay the groundwork. Like, I'm impressed at the world that they built and the story that they're telling and the way in which they're giving you the information. Because you are seeing the world unfold from a certain perspective, but there's so much more going on. And as it unfolds, and you're like, oh, and they don't take details for granted. One sort of like scene where you see something and there's a person, you're like, oh, that was kind of cool. That person will come back like 2 seasons later and they'll be like, do you remember that day when you saved my life? And it cuts back to that scene. I was like, holy shit, they didn't forget that. Yeah. That was me as a little girl, but now I am a soldier because you inspired me to join. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's a deep cut. Like, they just they shoot for the moon with that stuff. I'm like, all right, bravo. No one's
going to do 90 episodes a season.
Not 90 episodes a season. It's like, so for 90 episodes total amongst all the seasons.
I'm going 90 episodes a season.
Well, some of these
you're doing
shows,
that. Yeah.
I'm impressed where they're like, do you remember?
If you're doing that many episodes, period, you have to start pulling little You've got to start making mountains out of molehills.
It's impressive how they do that. But the thing that just sort of gets really exhausting with anime is just the internal dialogue.
Sure.
And some are way worse than others. I've now switched over to My Hero Academia, which is a much more lighthearted, it's a lighthearted show about a kid who's, the world is 80% full of superheroes, and he's trying to be a superhero, and he's trying to learn how to do it. And it's like a high school show. There's so many goddamn anime high school shows, and he's just like trying to be the lawful good guy. But as they're fighting, they're like, oh my God, he's only using half of his ability right now. I wonder what his strategy is, because he could have easily done this and won, but he's not doing it. Therefore, this must mean that. I'm like, oh my God, this whole 25-minute episode was just one fight, and they're not even done.
It's the thing that I get off of, that I go on about.
Yeah, it's bad. This one's really, really bad for that. With just the internal, it's just like, and there's so many characters too. There's so many characters, and people in the crowd are pontificating like, wow, that kid's pretty strong. Yeah, but did you see how he did this? Yeah, maybe he won't make it after all. And then it's got someone else. I thought he was pretty great. Especially, I'm like, Jesus, stop it. Just stop it. We can't keep doing this. Like, but then you kind of get used to it. And I don't know. Like, it's fine. That one has 6 seasons. I don't even know if that one's done yet. Probably not. But, we'll see. I look forward to Doug telling me in a month or so that I was right about him enjoying Andor. Jared, listen, I want you to know I will always tell you when you're right. When you're right, you're right. All right? I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be petty and be like, no, I didn't really like it. If I liked it, man, I'll tell you, and I'll give you credit, man. Credit where credit's due, because you're a good dude. All right?
And that's how you use that right.
Correct. Right? Right. Well, enough of this bonus material. Thanks for staying here and hanging out and listening to us, me just barf out a whole bunch of stuff. But
Jared,
you're the best. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, Jared. To anyone else that's watching or is watching the VOD, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on Friday. So used to getting back into it. Friday, 8 p.m. Central. I haven't decided the game yet. I'm trying to find out something new maybe that could be fun. And we'll see you there 8 p.m. Central. So come hang out. And in the meantime, be cool, be kind, and we'll see you next time. Later, gang.